Hi friends, it's Miss R again and I'm back to read you guys another story. I really hope you guys enjoyed the last one and I hope you guys enjoy this one as well. The story we are going to be reading today is called The Grasshopper and the Ants. Before I begin reading, I want to go over some parts of the book that we should know because books are important and we should know what's protecting them, what's keeping them safe. So the first thing is their front cover. This right here is called their front cover. It tells us a story, it gives us a picture of maybe what the book will be about, and usually at the bottom it tells us who the author is and who the illustrator is. So remember, the author is who wrote the book, and the illustrator is usually the person that drew the pictures or helped the author come up with the pictures for their story. Now, if this is the front cover, what do you guys think this is called? That's right, the back cover. So this is the back cover of the book. And there's usually, sometimes there'll be a picture like this, or there'll be a summary of the book. Usually like in chapter books, they have little summaries that say what the book will be about. So the reader can look at that and be like, do I want to read that? So it kind of gives them like a pre-image of what the story is going to be about. Now the most important part, this is called the spine. The spine is what keeps the books together. So it makes sure that none of the pages get lost, they're all included, they stay nice and safe, bounded together. So that's what the spine does. The spine keeps the book together. It's the backbone to the book. It's what keeps it united and safe, okay? So that's very important. Sometimes the spines will loosen up, so we have to put some tape on the book, staple it, so all the pages stay together, because if a page falls off, then the book is not complete. So we need to make sure that they stay together, okay? For this story, it is a little bit different. Their author is abcmouse.com and the illustrator. So sometimes books will have the same author and illustrator, and that's okay. For this case, it's abcmouse.com. They are the author and illustrator of this book. Before we start reading, I am going to go over some vocabulary words I feel will help us understand our story better. The first word is grain. Do we know what grain is? If we don't, it's okay. We're going to learn together. So grain is a small seed that people and animals can eat. A grain can also be used to make different kinds of food like bread, cereal, things like that. There is another word that can be used for grain if it's just one single grain, and that means kernel. Kernel is another word for grain. It's just, instead of it being a lot, it's just one single grain. Now, our next few words are really important to understand because it's what makes this story. Now, the grasshopper and the ants is known as an Aesop fable. Aesop was a person that lived a very, very, very long time ago. And he wrote many stories. Many of his stories included lessons. So, all his stories are known as Aesop's fables because they're written by him. And fable is another word for lesson. So a fable is usually a short story that has a lesson inside of it. So that's why all his stories are referred to as Aesop's fables. Now, Aesop lived in Greece. Do we know where Greece is at? Greece is a country in Europe, so he lived there, he shared his stories there, and they ended up all over the world for us to learn from. Do we know what legend means? Legend is a story from a long time ago, so these are known as legends because they were written a long time ago, but they have valuable lessons that we're learning from. Now, before we end our vocabulary lesson, do we know what lesson is? So lesson is something a person is supposed to learn or learns. For example, once I left my dishes in the dishwasher and I didn't wash them, and my mom got really, really, really mad. So the lesson there was that I learned to always wash my dish, even when it's not mine, to always wash it. So word of advice from Miss R is always wash your dishes so your mommy can be happy, okay? Now we're ready to go and read The Grasshopper and the Ants. Ready? Let's go. The Grasshopper and the Ants. One warm spring day, a grasshopper was playing in a grassy green field when he noticed a line of ants marching along carrying some seeds. "Where are you going with that big load?" the grasshopper asked one of them. "We're taking these seeds to our nest," squeaked the ant. "But it's such a beautiful day," said the grasshopper. "Come and have fun with me." "No," said the ant. "I think you should come work with us. It's going to be a long winter with lots of snow. You had better start storing your food now." "Why worry about the winter? It's only spring. There's lots of food everywhere," said the grasshopper as he chewed on a tasty leaf. All through the spring, the grasshopper did nothing except eat, sleep, and play. He became quite fat. One day during the summer, the grasshopper saw the long line of ants again. They were all carrying grains of wheat. "Where are all of you going with that food?" the grasshopper asked. "We're going to take it to our nest to save for winter," said one of the ants. "You should gather some wheat too. It's going to be a long winter with lots of snow." "I have all the food I need right now," said the grasshopper. "Why worry about winter when it's still summer?" All summer, the grasshopper did nothing but eat, sleep, and play. He became even fatter. One day, the grasshopper noticed that leaves were falling from the trees. Autumn had come. Among the leaves, he again saw the long line of ants, all carrying kernels of corn. "Where are you going with that corn?" the grasshopper asked one of the ants. The ant replied, "We are taking it to our nest to save for winter. You should gather some corn too. It's going to be a long winter with lots of snow." "That's too much work," said the grasshopper. "Winter is not even here yet, and when it comes, I am sure I will be able to find some food." A few weeks later, winter came, and the snow began to fall. Just as the ants predicted, the snow was very deep. This was not a problem for the ants, though. They were all snug in their nests with lots of food to eat. The grasshopper, however, had trouble finding food. He was very hungry and very miserable all winter. By the time winter ended, the grasshopper had learned a valuable lesson. It is important to prepare for the future. The end. Now that we have finished our story, I want us to think about how Grasshopper was. Was he a little lazy? Yeah, I think so too. What about the ants? They were working hard, weren't they? Yeah. So during this time, the grasshopper was just like in the picture. He was laying around, he was, relaxing, being lazy. And the ants, you see them working. And they look at him a little worried, don't they? Yeah. And they did try to help him out. But what did he tell them? It's too much work. He'll worry about it later. So he wasn't really being a team player, right? He thought it was better to be relaxing and being lazy instead of getting ready for winter. And winter came, and who was ready for it? Was the grasshopper ready? No, but the ants were, right? Yeah, but from this experience, he learned that he needs to be prepared, right? Now, I want to point out something. At the end of our story, we saw this. Moral of the story. Do we know what that means? It's okay if we don't. So moral of the story means, what is the lesson of the story? Or what is the message of the story? It's just another way of saying it. Here they gave us one. So they said it was, work today for what you will need tomorrow. Now I want to point out, this, you don't need to agree with it. You can pick something totally different. Maybe it was you learned something different from the story. And that is okay. For example, when I read the story, I thought the lesson was to never give up and to keep pushing through even when you feel a little lazy. I mean, it's okay to feel lazy sometimes, but it's important for us to finish our job, to get ready for what's next, right? So in my family, we have a little saying that goes, si se puede. So whenever I'm feeling a little down or I feel like I can't do something or I'm being lazy, they always tell me si se puede, which means you can do it, because we can all do whatever we have our mind set to, right? So I want you guys to think, what do you think the lesson in the story is, or message? It can be anything. It's whatever you felt you learned from the story. And I want you to share it with your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, even your dog if you want. And think about what could be the lesson? What did I learn? And you can do this either verbally or you can write it. So I am doing both. I wrote it out for you guys and I'm going to share it with you guys verbally as well. So I think the message or lesson in the story was to work hard and never give up, or be lazy because sí se puede. So here's mine, and I'll leave that a minute so you guys can look at it. And you can use my first two sentences right here to copy down, so if you're gonna write it down. But if you don't want to write it down, that is totally okay. You can share it with someone verbally by just talking to them, and maybe you can even show them the video and tell them, well, what do you think the story was about? Or what do you think the lesson was about in this? And then maybe you can build a conversation on that, okay? So I just want you guys to think about that, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed the story, and I hope you guys are staying safe and well, and remember, I really, really miss you guys. Bye.